We're live.
What is up, profitable stylist? Here we go this week. We've got a fun topic for you. Bernard is really excited to talk about.
I'm so excited about this topic. I literally asked Eddie a few seconds ago, what are we talking about today?
It is wedding hair.
Yes.
It's getting ready for your wedding and getting hair extensions ready for your wedding.
I wasn't nervous because I remembered earlier when we talked about it in the week, I was like, I know enough about that. I don't need to go researching or taking notes, but I couldn't remember what the title was. Wedding hair. Well, I don't do it, first of all. Never have done it. Have you done wedding hair?
I have worked on wedding parties, but I have not done the updos. I've done the color prep, the hair extension prep. I've done the blow dry. I've done all the prep for a wedding, but not the actual updo itself. I don't do updos.
I was in the salon yesterday, and one of my top highlighting stylists, Vivian, a customer comes in and she says to her client, she goes, "So this is wedding hair day, huh?" And I know she doesn't do updos. And what is today? Wednesday? Thursday? So it was Wednesday. Thursday. It was Wednesday. I was like, a wedding on Wednesday? Midweek wedding? And she goes, no. I'm just doing the highlights. The wedding's this weekend. She goes, I don't do wedding hair. And I thought, right. So it's funny. What is wedding hair? Who does
wedding? So much. There is so much to do.
Right. So what constitutes wedding hair? The first thing that comes to mind for me, though, is updo, up style. It's like everybody thinks, not everyone, but almost everyone thinks the hair has to be up, at least half up or all up to get married, right? Where does that come from? Why does your hair have to be up to get married?
It's formal wear hair is what it's referred to it as. And so traditionally, if you're going with traditionally speaking, it's a major event. So you would do yourself up, to make yourself presentable. So you would stand out, from everybody else.
Yeah. I always thought it was silly because there was, I don't know, no girl I'd ever seen that I thought was pretty looked better with their hair up. Personally, I thought hair made the person,
but not on the wedding.
Well, that's what I didn't get. I always thought that I don't know. I know everybody has their opinion, but for me, I like ideal hair. This is going to sound a little silly. Ideal hair would be Jane, Tarzan's wife.
Okay.
A whole lot of big, messy hair. I like a lot of it and a little on the frizzy side. That is dream hair to me. Now, I know that's not culturally, socially acceptable. So neater, cleaner, but still longer and thicker. I like. So everybody's got something they like, but most girls don't walk around with their hair up all the time. So when it comes to wedding hair, why take all that long hair if they have it and then put it up? Just never to get it. But if you are gonna put it up, most people, girls, boys, men, women, don't think they have enough hair ever. We do hair replacement consultations all the time for men and women, and nobody ever thinks they have enough hair. We've got guys that come in with his hair, much hair as me, and they're like, I used to have more, and I used to have more. What can I do about it? So when I think of wedding hair, I think, first of all, up, because that's tradition, whether I agree or like it or not. And then it seems like hair extensions or additions or more hair added to the hair is like a standard these days. You've got to add some hair to make it look like a person has even more hair than what they already started with. Is that accurate?
Oh yeah. It's always existed. It's not like nobody has ever gotten hair extensions before their wedding. Traditionally, or I guess going back to it, a lot of people used to get add-on hair for the day of. So a lot of pieces would be added in the day of the wedding, and they would be taken down after the wedding. But as the trends have changed over the past decades, nowadays it's more common to get actually almost either a partial or a full head of extensions and then wear it leading up to the wedding and then actually continue to wear it after the wedding. It just becomes part of it. So it's almost like using the wedding as an excuse to finally get in to start wearing hair extensions that you've always wanted to wear.
Well, it's funny you say that, because being an extension expert specialist or making that a big part of my life, that's where I came into wedding hair, kind of indirectly. So as a hairdresser, or as a profitable stylist, I never saw wedding hair as a very consistent thing. Not that it can't be profitable. And I know some people can make their lives on weddings, but to me, I thought a wedding, first of all, should happen once, although it happens more than once so often in this country, which is fine. But even if a person gets married 2 or 3 times in their life, that's something I can't build consistency into a business plan for me as easily. You know, you always have to be marketing the next wedding or somebody's wedding. Let me get the kids' wedding, the friends' weddings, all the weddings. And yes, you can make a business out of wedding hair if you love doing wedding hair. But for me, I thought, what is it that people are doing all the time? Haircuts and color. That I can get them to come in every 4 to 6 to 8 weeks and build some consistency on. And then hair extensions, I was like, all right, so they don't come as often, but they pay a lot of money and they are still coming 3 or 4 times a year at least. And so that was things I could build. So then when weddings come into play and they're like, you've been my stylist since I've been 17, 16 years old. I want you to do my wedding. Girl, you know I don't do. Do you want an updo for your wedding? Because you know how you've been knowing me for 10 years. I don't do wedding hair like that. And so there'd always be that conversation. No, I just mean I want you to do my extensions. And they knew some other stylist in the salon was going to put their hair up, half up, whatever they wanted. And a few girls, I just did extensions, flat ironed or curling ironed, and they went to their weddings, you know. So I've done some wedding hair, but not enough to be a consistent wedding hair person or to be an expert in that field by any means. But what I always loved about the weddings was like you just said, you've got this budget, right? And so you start thinking, they start thinking, how do I spend my money? Because you've got your standards, right? You've got the photographer, the videographer, the cake, the dress. I mean, those are just a few things. And then you've got your price per head. And then and none of this, I don't think any of this budget is spent on the groom traditionally, right? I mean,
I had the hardest job for my wedding. I had to go for a tux fitting.
I was going to say, whatever the guy's going to wear, because we're going to put the same gel or pomade or whatever we put in our hair, and we're going to probably not even own the clothes.
And I personally had it really tough for my wedding. I had to cut my entire wedding party's hair the way I wanted them to look. I worked more on my wife's hair, on the groom's party, on like actually the whole wedding party. I had to my mother-in-law. I had to get like the whole family's hair done. How they all wanted to look.
God, your wedding was work, right? So
I put in that work to get married.
So then I think you're right. It's a couple of things. Sometimes the hairdressers are smart to say, this is the perfect time to get extensions. You got this budget, wherever this money's coming from, you can get those extensions you've always wanted and have good hair. And that's where I come in. When people would decide they wanted hair extensions and they would call me and they'd say, my hair's too thin or not long enough. I want thicker, longer hair for my wedding. When is it? And then they'd say, when do you think I should do it? And that was a tough thing for me through the years to figure out, by asking a few questions. Have you ever worn hair extensions before? Have you been married before? Have you had your hair done like your wedding hair in the past that you like and you know what your goal is? Because the other thing is, you have to gauge, are they using this as an excuse to get extensions? And then if they are, which is fine, and you're putting it in, and back when I was doing a lot of extensions, it was keratin bonding that stayed in about 3 months on average. And so they'd be coming to me 2 or 3 or 4 months before the wedding, talking about it, maybe wanting extensions now, maybe wanting them a couple of days before the wedding. And so those were the two big deciding factors for me. First was, if you get it done right before your wedding and hate it, I am enemy number 1 before your wedding. I don't want to be that person. Let's do it before. But then if you do it before, too far before, they're grown out too much by the time wedding time comes. and you got to get them taken out and done again. And it's another expense that you may or may not have getting close to the wedding. So I was always more of the opinion, like, if you've never had extensions before, you should try them a little before. Make sure you like all this extra hair. What do you say?
This is how the consultation goes, because in my mind, okay, you and I have joked about this before, on the New Year's resolution, everybody wants to go get a gym membership. They're going to work out January 1st. I'm going to work out every single day. I'm going to look hot for the summer. And by February 1st, yeah, you've got your pretzels. You're sitting on the sofa watching TV. So, but wedding hair is different. They start saying like, hey, I'm getting married in next year, and I want my hair so I have a year to do whatever it takes to actually stay on a regimen. I need to grow my hair this long. I need to have this kind of curls, this kind of thickness, this kind of color, this kind of this kind of that. And what I love about that journey is it creates that habit for somebody to actually start maintaining and taking care, self-care. It makes them take care of themselves the way they should be taking care of themselves all the time.
That's what I was thinking. It gives them a goal, so they do what they should be doing always anyway.
Always anyways. So what I like about that is now we can start recommending. Well, it's not that now we've been always recommending to them the products they should be using, but now they're actually starting to use those products the way they're supposed to. And they're starting to see achievable goals and results. The other thing I do is I start saying like, okay, look, depending on how much hair you want to fill in, you should have strands, or you should have a weft, you should have, whatever system you should have, right? Let's try. I think you should have this kind of thing for your type of hair, this kind of technique of hair extensions for your type of hair. So let's put this in immediately, because we have a year to figure this out, and you can wear it and you can maintain it and you can see if you can handle it, and if you can't, we still have time. We can try a different technique. And if that doesn't work, then we know at a minimum, we'll just get you some temporary hair for the wedding, something to clip on, something to clip in, you pop it out, you're done with it. But what I'm finding is a lot of women are loving the long-term wear, whether they're the strands, whether they're keratin bonds or beaded, whether they're the wefts, even some people like the tape-ins. There's different types of systems out there. So doing them immediately and getting them used to doing it, and then getting them to come in to maintain it, it's now we're also keeping them on track with their hair color. We're also maintaining, they start taking, everybody's starting to take vitamins and multi-supplements and collagens and, biotin, right? So they're like, oh, has my hair gotten longer? Has it gotten thicker? And it is obviously. Well, that's the thing. So they're coming in more often to get their hair moved, their hair extensions moved up, because their hair is growing at the pace it should be growing, because they're taking care of themselves. So wedding season or wedding hair, however you want to refer to it as, is a very profitable, very lucrative business if you play it the right way, because it is the total look. It's not just a day of that's involved with it. It's a 1-year commitment. You start getting
the pictures.
The pictures,
live forever.
Yeah, those pictures matter.
And all the planning before, right? You're going to, and of course, it's more than just the wedding day. There's I guess there's parties and dinners and get-togethers,
rehearsals,
and then the trip after. I'm just using some broad terms. It's something to do with the moon.
Oh, no, you're talking about the honeymoon. I'm like, wait, what?
You're like, I don't know what moon he's talking about. I'm doing honey and a moon.
Well, you're going to feel like you're on the moon. That's a special day. Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's right. I don't even know what it feels like to be on the moon, but that's funny. So, right, you got all these things, and that comes into play for me with hair extensions is I don't want you to be out of the country potentially and hate your hair either. If you've never had hair extensions before and you're going over the top, because that is a tendency also with weddings, right? Or any special event, is that you're going to go a little overboard because you want to look a little more than what everything is just heightened and sensationalized. And like, I've got more money, I've got more expectations. Let's get more than I normally would. And so then that's not necessarily a good thing to go more.
Well, that's the whole thing, right? When is the honeymoon? A lot of people nowadays are not leaving immediately after the wedding. A lot of people nowadays are getting married and then they're taking their honeymoon, I don't know, a month later, a couple months later, whenever it
Yeah.
is. It's not just right after, how it traditionally was. So you have to make that decision as well too. What is the purpose of this look that you're trying to achieve for the wedding? But then after the wedding, I've literally had it where somebody got married, she came in a week or two later and got all her hair cut off. So like she had short hair. She's always had short hair, but because she got married,
Oh
she
yeah,
felt like,
growing it out for the updo, but then going right back to what she used to have.
so then they're like, what was the purpose?
Because you're expected to have wedding hair. That's what I hate about it. I just don't understand. Right. And I even when I look at wedding pictures so often or videos or at the wedding, I feel terrible. I'm just glad nobody asked me, what do you think? Because it's hard for me. Well, you'll look like a clown. You never wear that much.
You have to tack on the extra makeup because the photo takes half the makeup away. So when you're looking at yourself in person, you're like, woo.
There's a lot that look great. There are some really and most women are like, isn't the bride beautiful? And I'm thinking, well, yesterday she was really pretty, and so I think maybe we should not even pick this topic. We don't do wedding hair like that, but I think it's an interesting topic because I think everybody is a part of wedding hair, whether you like it or not. It's kind of like what we talked about sales and marketing. People don't want to say they're a salesman, but you won't survive if you're not. And that's a lie if you say you're not. Everybody wants to say they're not certain things, but everybody is a part of everything. Clown. Oh, sorry, guys.
Well, no, you got to look at it this way too.
I put clown. I mean,
yeah, because you look at it nowadays, the styles aren't full up. A lot of weddings nowadays are half up, half down.
Yeah,
and a lot of people
are
like
not wearing
the tiara like they used to.
Still left long, and it's just a little lift,
swept up, or a lot of braids are in right now as well too. So you got to look at the different styles that are trying to be achieved. When it comes to styles with braids or with curls, then I think hair extensions has a really great place for it because it's just going to thicken up. You need that hair to do those looks. The last thing you want is a thin looking braid or a curl that'll fall apart, halfway through walking down the aisle. You need something thicker.
So you got a good comment, Eddie, about basically where do extensions go? If the hair's only going half up, does that affect where you put extensions on the head for the style?
Absolutely, it does. Now I'm generalizing. A lot of the half up, half down starts from right about here, right around the temple, and it's swept upwards.
When you pointed just now, you have no hair where you just pointed. If you put extensions there, they'd show.
Well, then I would not be a really good candidate for the extensions, would I? I'd have to get a topper to cover this up so then I could put extensions to cover that up.
And we do that pretty often. I had 2 messages this week about extensions and toppers. Can I put extensions in if I put a topper on? Yes, of course. That's very smart and creative, and we do it all the time. Yes, put extensions on the topper to change some colors, highlights, lowlights, or on the client's hair underneath to add length. But go ahead. I disagree with your general answer of yes, it matters. But go ahead. And
I think it matters because if you're sweeping the hair up, then all of this over here is going to show right above the ear and back is going to show. So you have to be mindful. Then there is the other half of it where instead of taking this hair and sweeping it up towards the crown, there's this thing where they take this hair and they just pull it straight back to the occipital bone right in the middle of the crown.
Right. And
they tie it off over there. Then at that point, I don't think it necessarily matters as much. You can kind of do whatever you want.
Well, that was what my point was going to be. Obviously, it matters how you pull your hair up, but I don't think it matters I think that extensions should be. I'm big on placement. I think extensions should be placed where you can do most of the things you're going to do anyway. It comes into consultation, first of all, where and how do you wear your hair on a daily basis? All just straight down. Well, then it almost doesn't matter where you put the extensions. You just need to put them high enough so that the hair on top doesn't look like a shelf over the top of the long hair if you have thick hair. But if you've got it placed well and you've already done your consultation about how a person wears their hair, usually, I guess the wedding hair being completely different potentially might matter. But I think there's creative ways to style hair. You just have to be conscious of the extensions and not let them show, like you just said.
Right. You also have to be conscious of how the tiara is going to go on. And because that could affect how you have to adjust the placement up and down a little bit as well too. I've even done it a couple of times where I've purposely put in a couple of strands. I've put in a couple of strands a little higher up and just on the sides and the back of the head. So the bobby pins can anchor into the buns of the hair extensions to help. The one girl in particular that I'm thinking of, her hair was super thin, super fine, very soft hair.
And that helped hold the tiara on better?
Yeah, it kept the poor thing, you know, they tried hairspraying it on, they tried lacquering it in, they tried pinning it. It just would not hold, you know. So by putting in the hair extensions in the back there, they were able to, we put hair extensions in the back of the head, a couple of strands, we put 2 strands on each side, a little higher up than the rest of the row. And then on the tiara itself, we created a little makeshift eyelet, and we were able to hook the pin through the eyelet into the buns. And then we did like a crisscross, bobby
and
pin.
That's my favorite part about being a hairdresser is the creativity that can be done on the freaking head. You know, people think we just cut and style hair. I mean, we are fashioning apparatuses. The head. I mean, I like that word. It's a big word because it can mean a lot of things. And I think I really, really understood this better as I got to know Nicholas French, because he put some stuff on some people's heads. Some of those hairdos that win these competitions and stuff are done completely off of a person's head. And then it's put on the head and then bonded on somehow.
The worst situation I was ever in, I was attending. I wasn't in the wedding party. I was attending the wedding. I get dragged into the bridal.
You have a doctor in the house.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's kind of what it was. I got dragged into the bridal suite, and hey, Casper.
Or what? Hey, Casper. Lay down, boy. Lay down. We're not ready to go yet.
I get dragged
it over.
Right. I get dragged into the bridal suite, and they says, Eddie, look, we need your help. One of her extensions came out. We can't get it back in. The adhesive is gone. It won't stick anymore. The adhesive won't stick anymore.
I got chewing gum.
Well, I ended up using lipstick and I tore some of the nylon off their nylon. And I don't recommend this because it held just enough for the pictures, and then it fell apart. But we melted the lipstick into the nylon to get it to stick back onto the adhesive part, whatever.
Nylon would have been enough. Lipstick.
Well, I needed something tacky. I didn't have anything. I was MacGyvering in the moment. It was like MacGyvering because the nylon itself stuck to the adhesive, but it wouldn't stick to the hair. So I needed something waxy to stick to the hair.
Polyester, is nylon and polyester the same? Because I found it fascinating that Hair Visions, which was on right at one time, they were copying a bond that looked similar to a keratin bond, and they were open about we always talked about all the different choices of materials people used as their sticky material. I don't like to call them adhesives. I don't really know the proper definition of the word adhesive. I always just said things that something that makes 2 things stick together, you know. But theirs was a polyester bond, which I don't know if that's similar to nylon or not, but I thought it was some sort of plastic, and they would melt. So the bonds were polyester. You heated them up, and they melted and stuck to the hair, similar to a keratin bond.
I know nylons are nice. I think they look nice. I don't have too much experience with choosing them all the time. I have to Google that.
So You know what? I think about wedding hair, and I think, I usually have these great divides, like this or that. I don't have super big divides in wedding hair. I would love in the comments, because I know people have so much more. Uh, let's be honest with the audience today. This is our first day streaming with Facebook and YouTube at the exact same time. And we were nervous to bring on an expert in case things went wrong. We didn't want to ruin somebody else's day also. So we probably ought to have some people who do lots of weddings, because I know they got some wedding stories that they could tell. Because for me, I just feel like it's up or down, extra hair or not. Who comes to help you? Because I know Shelby does a lot more weddings than anybody else in our salon, and she'll always bring a team, and that team of people doesn't even have to be super experienced, because she just needs hair curled or flat ironed or cleaned or brushed, and then she can whip it up. Because to me, that whipping it up is always such a creative, sculptured building moment. And to me, I feel like I could never understand if that client, you kind of have to know what's in style and convince the client that looks good, because I don't think they know what they want. Some do, some know exactly what they want. But when it comes to updos, to me, it's such a creative piece of artwork up there, and not one of them ever looks the same. You have a few very iconic French twists, some of the braids you mentioned, but updos in general are just so many, like snowflakes, not one, not two of them are identical.
The same, right? It has to do with the dress as well, too, though. I mean, the whole hair is the ultimate accessory that's going to accentuate what kind of makeup, because you're going to do natural, or you're going to go a little heavy. Those are the more popular choices that I hear discussed all the time.
Right.
Is the makeup for the face, then the dress. Is it an open top dress, or is it
the more skin that's showing up here, or the less skin constitutes how much hair's up or down? Do you know the answers there? Because I have to say I don't know much about that.
Usually, if you have more of an open dress, what I observe is that more women want to have some hair down. They want to feel semi-covered something with hair. And then what I've seen is, with the more higher up the dress is,
you want to
the more willing the
hair out the way
to get her hair out the way.
Interesting.
So, and then it also has to do with if you're going to have a veil, or if you're going to have a tiara, or if you're going to do both, that also leads into the opinion of, should the hair be more up or should it be more down? Because that crown, how much attention do you want to bring to that centerpiece for your hair as well? So there's a lot of decisions involved. You're right. It is a sculpture. The creative process is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And then depending on the color of the dress, depending on how, and I don't know what the right word is, bedazzled, I guess, or like how
I don't
dressed
think
up
that's right.
the thing is, actually kind of determines how much contrast in hair color you're going to have as well. How many highlights you're going to have? Are you going to be bright, blonder, lighter, or are you going to be darker with some accents? Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to wear jewelry? What kind of shoes are you going to have? It really, the entire ensemble of getting married is a far more complicated process on the woman's side of things than it is for the dudes,
For the most part, that's true.
For the most part, there's a lot of intricate things. There's a lot of fine details that go into it that I don't think are appreciated enough. There's a crap ton of coordination involved.
Yeah, and then for the hairdresser, we are a much bigger part, not personally, because I didn't do many updos, but for the hairdresser, I think hairdressers are much bigger parts of weddings than most people realize also. Because my daughter owned a wedding venue for a few years, and I remember she bought or rented a space and started turning it into a venue. And it was fascinating to me that there wasn't much business for the first year because of the way it works. People book their venues pretty much at a minimum a year out. So the whole first year was a lot of planning, prepping, and meeting people. Now, she's making money because they're giving deposits now for the thing in a year or whatever. So it's funny to me how weird it was. You could almost start saying you're going to have a venue without having it because you don't need it for a year. But then they wouldn't be able to see the place that they're actually going to get married in. So that's when other than being a hairdresser and knowing the hair side of weddings a little bit, just being in the field, I got to experience the venue side of it. And I realized, okay, so the venue and the hair are two big parts of a wedding. And how responsible as a hairdresser you have to be. I didn't want that responsibility. It makes
I have a question
me a
for
little
you.
nervous. Yeah, go ahead.
When you're on stage, I've seen you do this, and I see if I could get you to remember what I'm talking about. I've seen you on stage, and you've done it on a mannequin. You've always said one day you would love to do it on a real person if somebody'd be willing or if you were strong enough. But I've seen you do it on a mannequin where you've put in extensions and then you've said to the crowd, to the audience, how do you test to see if these are in tight enough or strong enough? Do you kind of know what am I talking about?
You think we could?
So for the dance floor, how strong or how tight?
Well, I've seen it's always. See, I have a pretty tough head. You can pull my hair pretty hard. I really believe. You ever see the girl at the circus that hangs from her hair? They'll hang.
It's wild, like that Circus Soleil stuff. That's
Ponytail,
wild.
and then it clamps to some cable, and then she's hanging and she's spinning and doing whatever. I always thought, if my hair was long enough, I think I could hang from my hair. So, you know, you you want to see if extensions styled up on top of the head and then hanging from just the extensions and swinging. That's more than just hanging. That's
And the updo though too, not just like whatever the style is. Those curls, those
so
updos, those chin-ups.
What makes that updo stay? What makes
Hairspray.
it stay?
A lot of hairspray.
It's more than that.
It's hairspray.
Where does it start? So here's one of the big arguments that I hear all the time about updos. Should I come clean or dirty? How dirty?
It always used to be dirty. It never was clean. But the clean hair now is a recent, I'd say maybe this past 10, 15 years coming in with clean hair and then
cleaner, but we still have a lot of hairdressers. And that was always a weird thing to me in this industry because I never did any updos. So I would hear the hairdresser say, now don't shampoo your hair, come in with dirty hair, don't clean your hair. I'm like, oh, it's making my head itch right now just thinking about it. What does that mean? How freaking dirty? And if I just took a bath yesterday, how do I get it dirty? What is that? What?
I'll tell you. So you know how I always reference the joke? Okay, every time I'm in a class, every time I'm teaching a class, and anytime I'm talking about heat, I'm always saying use low heat, don't burn the hair, don't, be careful, blah, blah, blah. And then I always make a reference on the heat temperature for a blow dryer, for a flat iron, for rollers, for hot tools, for everything, except for a curling iron. I always make the joke that a curling iron, I don't understand why it has a temperature gauge on it, because you turn it to 10, you max out the heat on the curling iron, and that's it. That's the only heat temperature you need.
I do that on a flat iron also, but go ahead.
But on a curling iron, the reason why we would say that dirtier the hair, the better. Whatever prior product buildup and oil was in that hair, combined with fresh new hairspray onto that hair, and then sizzling the crap out of that with the curling iron was just going to mold that hair into place. And that was it. It was just going to be like that. And it was not going to move.
It's better. So the style it's easier to mold and stuff. It just has more product in it, basically.
More product in it because if the hair is too clean, then there is no friction, there's no static. It tends to slip better because the cuticle is smoothened and closed how it should be. And then your curls are falling up. You're trying to create a base, right? Your whole style starts at the base of your head, whether it's a curl, whether it's a tease.
Brings me into the next point. So when I'm thinking of, very practically wedding hair, that's what I was thinking. So come in dirty, maybe. Some people are going to comment, no, I like clean hair, and that's fine. I like to put my own products in, make it as product filled as I want with the products I want in there. And I think it can be done. I think the come in dirty thing is probably a time saver too, right? It's like, because if I got to wash the hair and then put the products in and then dry it, to get it to the.
I don't know if that matters because like that day of the wedding,
You're not
somebody is
shampooing
willing
hair.
to stay up all night and just start doing hair at midnight because the wedding's at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever.
Isn't that the truth? Well, you do have to get up early if you're going to do that. But you don't. There's no shampoo bowls at the venues. If you're doing hair at the
If you're
venue,
doing it on site.
as opposed
Some
to
venues do have in the bridal suite. Some venues nowadays do have a shampoo bowl built in because they understand how much of an aspect that is for
that's smart
for the wedding.
And if cleaner hairs come in and style, that's smart. But still, most of the time, you're not going to have that, and you're getting married in somebody's backyard or a field or an old country home or something. You're not going to have that, so you're going to have to. So the next step to me was always, okay, dirty hair, and then there's going to be, like you just said, a base. So what comes to mind when you say a base? To me, teasing comes to mind. A lot of back combing or teasing.
So you got to blow dry, smooth that hair out, and prepare it before you start teasing it. So the teasing is organized.
Usually, right? You got to blow dry it, pulled out away from the head. You're going to get some lift at the scalp just with the drying before. Well, I say just with the drying. The product's going to help it stay away from the scalp also before you start to tangle it up.
And then you're going to start tangling. Yeah, you're going to start back combing it. You're going to start curling it. And then you're going to start building.
Curl before teasing.
I've seen it. I think it's easier to tease the hair first and then curl whatever's left. But I've seen some stylists curl the entire head.
Yeah.
And then tease out whatever they want. So I don't know. I've seen it done both ways. I personally think it's easier to tease first.
I've never seen it done like that, but I can see where the curling first could provide more fullness when you tease. The hair is going to bend in the tease, but then you've got hair in the tease, and so you only end up, depending on how much you tease, you got a lot less hair to curl too. So and that's interesting. Never thought about that. But the back combing is what builds some base, some fullness, some thickness near the scalp, and something like the anchoring for the bobby pins, hairpins, the tiara, whatever hair accessories you're going to put in, grabs onto I hate to call it tangled, but that's basically what teasing is. It's the beginning.
Oh yeah, you're back combing and teasing. You're pushing that
of knotting and matting, but matting. I would say the definition of a mat is a tangle that has gone so far that you almost impossible to remove, right? So,
yeah, back combing is organized chaos.
Right. Teasing is the same thing as back combing. People like to call it a different name. It's just like if somebody says, I don't sell, I do something else. You try to use a different word for it. You're still trying to exchange money. I consult, I educate. You're still trying to exchange service or product for money. Call it whatever you want. So that's how I feel about teasing, back combing, tangling. It's all the same thing. It's building a foundation or a base or a cushion along the scalp to make the head and hair look bigger, but also to anchor some of the stuff you put in the hair. The little pearls, rhinestones, bedazzle the hair like the dress, as you called it, bedazzled. I know that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the right term is for it.
No, I know it's not bedazzled. Bedazzle's a brand that just adding accessories. Accessories is probably the most general.
Well, like the sequins and all that looks. It's cool. It looks good. So yeah, so you do that. That's your foundation. That's your base. And then a crap ton of bobby pins, man, and hairpins, bobby pins and hairpins.
Bobby pins, hairpins, hairspray.
Now here's something that's interesting recently.
And toilet paper.
A lot of toilet paper.
Seriously, we learned that also from Nick. How to use toilet paper to get those frizzies. Spray it, hairspray on the toilet paper and use it to smooth some areas out. Yeah,
it's my favorite hair hack.
And not a lot of toilet paper. I don't know why you say a lot, huh? Does it take a lot?
Oh, because because you're using 2-3 squares at a time. And depending on how much somebody moves and depends how many people are in the wedding party, you're going to have to do it to multiple people.
So what were you getting ready to say?
There is a thing now where lately showing, so like before you'd always have to hide the pins but there's a trend. There's a trend that actually
Really?
the pins can show.
Do you? Yep. Well, they come in so many different colors now. I
They
guess you
come in
can
so
use
many
it
different
as an
colors,
accessory.
but then there's pins that actually have little flowers on them, or little stars on them, or little tchotchke things on them that actually lend itself to being able to be shown
So
on
then you
purpose.
can, so then you can use the pin to actually hold the hair in place, but then have an accessory on the pin also.
Because sometimes, like if you have a sweeping and you want to like get that sweep to stand in place, it's really hard to pinch off that section right there to keep all that sweep with and hide that. So by being able to have it purposely showed, you're making it part of the style, but then it's not actually part of the style. It's actually technically holding the whole thing up in place, you know.
Rather
So
than
it's fun.
using like a barrette or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's
Interesting.
pretty cool. I like what wedding hair has evolved to in the past, couple of decades, because it's really more of a free for all. It doesn't have to look so traditionally formal and full up like how it used to be. I've even seen it where they don't have any hair up. They just wear a regular, beautiful blow dry style, or a beautiful, curl style. So just lending back to what you were saying earlier, it's not as common, but it's definitely acceptable nowadays. Whereas
Right.
before it was always you'd have to have your hair pinned up.
Right. I I'm gonna say this is a first for me.
Hmm.
I'm out of words about weddings.
No, look, man, it's an
I
interesting topic. It's a
Yeah,
fun topic. It's an interesting topic.
and I think other people could probably talk forever about this, like I could about hair extensions. But I feel like I would just be rambling and making stuff.
Well, it's short and sweet. It's really short and sweet.
Yeah,
The main takeaway is this:
tell
there's a
me.
lot more that goes into it than what a lot of people realize.
That's true.
You got to start off with an idea of what you want your dress to be. You got to have an idea of what you want your makeup to be, and then the hair will kind of fill in the gap between those two main things. Have some kind of an inspiration that you can bring to your hairdresser to start talking it out. You want your hair down, you want your
Pictures
hair up, you want it
will
half, you
help.
want it this, you want it that. And then start practicing. Don't wait the week
Yes,
of, or a
that's
month
a good
before.
point. Do a practice run through. It's worth the extra money.
Do multiple practice runs if you have to. It's worth it, because that day is your day. And those pictures are your pictures, and those are your forever pictures. So what is the value of that? An extra 60 bucks, $100 for a couple of trial runs, 200 bucks, whatever it is, do it, because do it now, do it sooner. So then you have it locked down for later.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do that for all the bridesmaids.
No,
Although
no,
you
for
can do,
yourself, for the bride.
but you
Yeah.
can do that too. You can have, because some people, like you said, want all the bridesmaids to look a certain way. So you can have that practice run done also, because like you said, the pictures and videos are forever. So it is worth the practice run. That is probably the biggest takeaway I would have got from this video, because I've seen that done, and we didn't talk about that the whole way through. I've seen that done and not done in the salon over the years. And I'd say it's not done more often than it is done. And the one that really blows me away is on Saturday morning when we get the phone call, can you do my hair for my wedding today?
It happens. That's a terrible phone call to get, but it does
Yeah.
happen.
And I'm
Something
like,
fell through, something happened, and now
oh, they
that poor
just
bride's
didn't even
scrambling.
think about it. And they're like, I gotta get my hair done today. What? Or they just got decided to get married yesterday.
The shotgun weddings, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
Is
going
that
to
what they're called nowadays? Shotgun
I
weddings?
mean, I guess I'm sure that's improper, but I don't know for sure.
I don't
But
know what they're called.
yeah, so yep, going to Justice of the Peace today. We decided last night, and need to get. But no, some people just literally forget, or their hairdresser gets sick, or moves, or passes away. I mean, things
Something
happen,
happened.
you know. So
Yeah.
it's not a bad idea to have a backup plan and have multiple stylists in the same. So that's another thing, is do the practice run, but God, being practical, I would think I would want 2 or 3 stylists in that same salon doing the wedding party. So if anyone moves, isn't available, sick, and just can't do it, you've got a backup plan or a backup stylist. if you really want to be planning ahead. I am totally done.
No, that's the biggest takeaway. I know this is a huge topic. I know everybody's got a lot to say about it. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah,
Give us your
definitely
comments.
would.
Let us know. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.